You give them a piece of your mind.
I'll give them my opinion.
Oh, you're pretty good at that.
Somehow people keep Wow. Red leather, yellow leather, blue leather. Swear I'm a professional.
If we're professionals, I think that just diminishes the term professional.
Look at you using big words like diminishes. I almost messed the word up. We're just two tow truck operators trying to change the world.
Two tow truck drivers that have computers and cameras and a microphone.
If there's two things you shouldn't give a tow truck driver, it's a microphone
and a platform.
And a platform. We're worse than politicians.
Wow, I wouldn't go that far, but...
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, TowManG, and as usual, I am joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the one Jane Wonder himself, the man with very, very strong opinions, Mr. PlainGuy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's just a beautiful, warm day out here in central Ontario.
Beautiful. It is hot, my man. I have said it before, and I will say it again. I will take minus 40 over plus 40 every day of the week. The reason for that is simple. Minus 40, I can put more clothing on. Plus 40, I can only take off so much clothing before customers start to complain.
Yes, I do understand that. But to be honest with you, I think we can both agree, plus 15 to plus 20, the best working weather you got.
Agreed. Until you hit Ontario and the humidity will make it feels like 40-some degrees. I envy you East Coast and West Coast operators. I don't know what it's like in the central United States. I imagine it's very similar. Humidity is my nemesis. I can deal with 40-degree weather, sunny, hot, dry day. I'm cool with it. You throw in that humidity where it's sticky, you can't breathe, it's heavy. I mean, that's me on most days. But you throw it in on a hot day like that with the humidity, it is terrible. You know, be sure to stay hydrated, especially with summer coming. We talked about staying hydrated in the winter before. In the summer, it's even more important. A cooler in the back seat full of water will go a long way with your customers and go a long way to helping you get through that day.
Yeah. Are we old men with a lulling conversation talking about the weather already?
I'm not old. I refuse. It's actually funny. Then this is how the show always goes. It's funny you mentioned that. I was talking with a couple of our operators last night, and he had made an old comment to me, and I'm sitting there going, "How old are you again?" And he was 24, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, all right. I am the older guy, I guess, compared to this." But I always remember in towing, for most of my years in towing, I was always the youngest. I started at 22 years old. So when you were 22, 23, 24, 25, even, you were normally one of the youngest guys on the group. Yeah. And now you get up there and, I won't disclose my age. It's I'm just over 30, we'll say. And you start to go, yeah, you see all these kids coming in at 24, 23, and you're like, I'm not the young guy anymore.
Yeah, I got a guy working with me now who's 22, and I'm like, oh, you're young.
I'm still 22 at heart.
I'm not.
Maturity wise, I'm still about 12, but at heart, I'm 22.
I'm an old man at heart.
Old man at heart. All right. So before we get too far into it, not that we already aren't 5 minutes into this, it's a good time to mention, as usual, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for the show, if you would like your question on how much of a dick is TowManG, which we are going to play again today. We haven't played that one in a little while.
Oh, goody.
You can reach out to us. Do us a favor. If you want to have a question for how much of a dick is TowManG, do not send it through the Facebook page. Go to the website through the contact. The reason is G has access to the Facebook page. I got to revoke his access.
Do I ever check that, though?
I know, but I always want the questions to be, I want your honest, off-the-cuff opinion on them, or answer to them, and I can't do that if you preemptively know what the question is. So if you want to
That would be the ultimate dick move for TowManG.
just preemptively read all the questions and get it ready. I keep it on a separate sheet that he doesn't have access to so that we can get through it. But if you want to be a part of that, head over to the website, www.towinglife.ca. Or you can, again, if you want, you can find us through Facebook. Any other questions, concerns, comments you might have at the Towing Life Podcast on Facebook. Or you can email directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. Everything's over at the website. I'm going to stop reading off all these one day. I'm just going to go www.towinglife.ca. As usual, if you are watching on the YouTube side, do not forget to hit that like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm. Like and describe. I have a show I listen to. They say like and describe. I love it.
Yes, please describe the show down below in the comment section for us.
Yeah. Two towers talk stupid. There you go. Pretty good description.
Valid. It's valid.
So yeah, no, head on over any of those ways. You can call us 249-666-2209. Be sure to have your input. We do have a question for how much of a dick is a TowManG today that we will get to, which is from a listener. That being said,
today?
What's that?
Are you tired today?
I am exhausted today.
It seems like you're a little off today.
Well, I've been down with the vid. I got the vid.
Oh.
That was a rough 3-4 days. It beat up on me pretty good. As you know, we were supposed to record. I couldn't. The head fog I had, couldn't get off the couch. It bit me pretty good. So I'm still recovering from that. And then last night we get into an exciting little time. So we never did talk about it on the show. I will bring it up. A couple weeks ago, we get a call from the police. They requested a heavy wrecker and a flatbed for a car in a 4-foot hole. So obviously, first instinct you hear that, you go, it's a 4-foot hole. Why do I need a flatbed? First of all, you know me, I like to be able to do anything with wreckers.
Yeah.
And why do I need a heavy wrecker? Upon talking to the officers, they give us a rundown and a photo of a vehicle that, as we have a bridge out near us that is under construction. So the center platform of the bridge is still intact, but they have dug out 2 4-foot trenches on each side of the bridge. A lady who was allegedly impaired drove through the construction fencing, through the pylons they had set up, cleared the first 4-foot section of gap. She must have been flying.
Yeah.
Cleared it clean and drove the car into the second gap. This was a call that I have never seen before. So we sent out our equipment. We brought in a 50-ton rotator. We need a rotator, period. 50-ton might have been excessive, but it's what we had. And we had to actually lift the vehicle out of the second hole that it was in, put it back up on the platform, use a flatbed to extend over the first hole, winch the vehicle, remove the vehicle from there. The cops, ourselves, we all had a good laugh about it. It was a good time. It was something we had never seen. No injuries. So, you know, when there's no injuries, you can kind of chuckle about things a little bit more.
So I got a question here.
Yeah.
If you, obviously the bridge is out, so you had to come in from 2 different angles to get your flatbed and the heavy wrecker. Why couldn't you just pick up the car with the heavy wrecker, get it stationed behind the truck, lift your legs, and then drive ahead nice and slowly and do it all from one side?
The main reason on that is we didn't have the boom reach to safely pick the car up at that end. Meaning, why clear the gap if we don't have to?
Yep, fair enough.
In a situation like that, where the nose was fully in the gap and the back tires were just on the lip, like they were about to fall in, the easiest approach, and we had a rotator operator that is, you know, less, he's very qualified, but he has less experience. So by doing it this way, all we had to do was lift the front of the vehicle, suspend it in the air, at which point we hooked the flatbed up from the rear, and we applied pressure, pulling it backwards as the rotator put the front end back down. It was the safest, easiest way. It was dark. You know, why overcomplicate it? Could we have just cleanly picked the car up and put it back down? Yes. The other problem we had is getting close enough with the wrecker, because you have to remember the road and everything has been torn out. We can't fully speak for how stable of a base is underneath this.
Yeah.
So again, let's put the least, you know what I mean? Let's put the least stress on everything as possible.
Yep.
So it was what I would consider normally a once, we all have those once in a lifetime, once in a, 10-year stories.
Well, you would think also the construction company should hopefully put up some heavier duty barricades if someone can just drive right through that.
Right. This was just construction fencing, some pylons. There was some road closed signs that she had driven around, all that. So you think it's a once in a year thing. Fast forward 2 weeks. The construction company has now put cement jersey barriers. Big ones, not the little curb high ones, the big ones. And this Mazda 5 last night decided it was going to clear through them.
I thought it was a demolition derby, and those were the derby walls.
Of what I understand, there was no impaired. So I don't have to say allegedly. I don't know if there was medical. I do not know the condition of the driver. Of what I understand, he is in stable condition. That may change. That's why we don't mention any names, locations, anything like that. Or get into detail on some big pictures of what the car actually looks like. But imagine getting that call at 1:30 a.m. going, hey, same bridge, same scenario. A car has driven through the jersey barriers and killed the front end of this Mazda 5 through the jersey barriers and buried in the first hole this time. He didn't clear the first hole. I mean, the jersey barriers probably took away a lot of his momentum.
Yeah.
It was a yard sale for parts. I found the AC condenser about 50 feet on the other side of the hole. Or sorry, the compressor. We were picking up parts. So I think we got to go back in the daylight to get a couple more because I'm sure there was some that were missed. But this guy, smoked the jersey barriers, went through, buried again in the first hole. Wow. So again, here we come with our rotator and our flatbed. And this one we did, to your point, is we just lifted and brought it back up on.
Yeah.
And then brought the flatbed into.
Now, did the police request both trucks again, or did you just know what to roll with this time?
Well, the officer contacted us directly, and before he had called into his comm center, and then he contacted us, and I'm pretty sure it was, hey, I got one at that bridge again, same thing. So before we even got any photos, we rolled both trucks out.
Yeah,
because at that point he knew what we needed last time. He knew, you know what I mean? We're just going to roll them. And could it have been done a different way? Sure. Guys, they're going to sit there. Why do you need a rotator for these jobs? You're probably right. It probably could be done without one. Yeah. Matter of fact is less secondary damage, less of a nuisance, more safety was the big one, right? Yeah. We're overhanging a hole. You've got to get to hook in. That thing's going to get caught up, whatever the case is. I mean, you've got the trucks. If you have the equipment available to you, why not use it?
Yeah.
And in this case, we had the equipment available. So we picked up the front, slid over the back a little bit, and placed it right back centered on the pad where we were able to bring in a flatbed, load the vehicle up, and haul it off to our yard.
But we see this all the time. Like this is big scale to me. Like once you gotta get a heavy wrecker out there and a flatbed, you're into a pretty big job. Right? Yeah. We see this on our day-to-day where I'll give you an example. I had a roadside call for Mercedes. And Mercedes is known for always sending these roadside calls with a flatbed code in it, right? They say, we want a flatbed code. Well, this was for a Sprinter van that was locked in park. They didn't give us a height. They didn't give us a weight other than that it was a heavy tow for this roadside. And it was locked in gear, wouldn't shift. So instead of sending a flatbed, we sent me in the wrecker, locked in park. I can grab it from the rear wheels or frame fork it from the back, whatever the case may be. Worst case scenario, drop the shaft and away we go. And I get there and I talk to the customer and he was like, wow, you were here fast. I was like, yep. And he was like, are you in a bed? Nope. Well, I specifically asked for a bed. I was like, well, I'm sorry. There's nothing specific in the call. It was just generically made up.
The generic flatbed creation that roadsides are using for as soon as a keyword is flagged or as soon as a vehicle is flagged, it automatically
it's the same flatbed code for a cobalt, right? With a low oil pan. So I start talking to the guy and I was like, oh, okay, so what's actually wrong with your thing? And he was like, well, it won't shift out of park. I was like, okay, well, let me see if I can solve that issue for you. And I solved the issue. I put a battery pack on it. I got it to start right up and put it in drive and reverse and neutral and all the gears. And then I said, okay, well, you don't have the extended version, so I can just pick up the rear end and strap the steering wheel and away we go. He was like, no. Why? Well, the tires are wearing a little funny. There's something wrong in the front end. That's what I was also getting it towed down there for. I was like, okay, that's fine. I can pick it up from the front and drop the drive shaft. It's a heavy duty call. I get paid by the hour. It's a good paying call. I want to do it.
Yep.
He was like, well, no, that'll void my warranty. Me having to drop a drive shaft to get the vehicle there isn't going to void your warranty. So
I can see where you'd have the concern, though.
yeah. So I reassured him. He was like, nope, I'm not letting you touch it. It's like, okay. So then I called the roadside itself and I was like, listen, I've got a van that's 9,500 pounds roughly with a bunch of tools in the back. It's a heavy duty call, or came through as one. I don't have a bed available that's heavy enough with an operator with enough license to carry all that weight on top of their bed until 6:30 that night. And it was 2:00 in the afternoon. The guy wanted it down there now.
Mhm.
So he was like, yeah, that's perfectly fine. And the call waited for us to do it later that night. But this guy turned down a truck. He wanted the vehicle there immediately. Like, he wanted it there as soon as he placed the call. And I'm there, able to do the job, reassuring him that I can do the job. And he still says no because of whatever he thinks in the back of his mind, that a flatbed is better than a wheel lift or whatever the case may be. And I even told him right out front, I was like, most of these Sprinter vans, some of them are too tall to go on most beds. They're very heavy, so very select few beds can legally tow them down the road. And it was going like 80 kilometers into the city.
Yeah.
And some operators only are running with a G with a Z endorsement. They're not licensed for that weight, right? So you got to make sure you have that D in your Z in the truck that's capable.
But that's not that's not his problem.
No,
he
it's
doesn't
not.
care what your staffing issues are. He just
No.
wants his Sprinter van towed. I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but he's not wrong. I hate it as much as the next guy where I go, you know what I mean? I can do it. Well, I don't want you doing it. Fine. I'm getting paid to show up here.
Yeah.
If you don't want me to do it and I can do it and I've offered the service to you, then wait.
Yeah, but that's the thing though. For roadsides, why do they really get to choose? If an operator can do it safely, legally, and you're not paying for it, the
Well, 'cause-
operator's taking the risk.
Yeah, but the operator's taking the risk. The customer is ultimately going to, roadsides are sold on customer service is all they are,
Yeah.
right? A good roadside, that's their big push is customer service. You and I know that, the big roadsides, what's their biggest concern? They will make exemptions for everything as long as customer service is the top thing in mind, which isn't wrong. It's a pain in the ass sometimes, but it isn't wrong. So
Yeah.
in a case like this, the customer gets to decide what kind of tow truck he wants. Is he right? No. Can it be done the way you described? Yes. But if he doesn't want it, and especially a roadside, you're charging them for showing up.
Yeah.
So move on to the next one. This is no different than the situations where you talk about you don't want to do it because of the license plate, and I get paid. You get paid to show up anyways. It's the same thing, but it's because we want to do this call. You want this call. You know what I mean? We as operators have a bad habit, and I know a lot of guys that do it, that will put, what they want because either it's a nice gravy run, either it's something like that, ahead of the customer's wants, and will argue with the customer over it. And at the end of the day, it does nobody any good.
Yeah.
If you show up, you offered your services, you explain to the customer you can do it properly, then great. If the customer still won't take that and the roadside is going to pay for it, or if it's not roadside, if it's the customer paying, if he wants to pay for the second truck to come out, if he wants any of that, then so be it. Let him pay for it.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, they're paying our bill.
Yeah.
So if the roadside's letting them choose, or the customer's paying it himself and wants to choose, whoever's paying the bill has a certain amount of say on what they want, what they're willing to have towed, right? And with what kind of equipment.
Yeah.
But no, the police dispatching that equipment is what I more or less have a problem with. We were talking stories and all that. It's, in that situation, when the police originally called us and said, we need a heavy wrecker and a flatbed, my first thought was have the officer call me, because this is strange.
Right.
Because we do see a lot where police will say, yeah, I want this. I need this kind of truck. You don't know what you need. No offense to you officers. There are some officers that have been around and probably do know, you know what I mean? Different situations, but a lot of them will go, oh, it's an all-wheel drive, it needs a flatbed, or it's got heavy front end damage, it needs a flatbed, or it needs this. And sometimes you show up and you go, man, this would be a lot easier with a wrecker. There's never a call that a flatbed can't do. The flatbed can always do it. And I think that's where a lot of the police and roadsides get that information from. There isn't really a call. There's very few calls, 1 in 100, that you will get that goes, it needed a wrecker. Would it have been easier in situations? Sure. Would it have been, less work? Probably. But to say that you needed it, there was no other option than with a wrecker, is very few. But there is more situations that and look at me defending flatbeds. God, the guy who hates flatbeds. But it is the reality. As we get older, we learn things. Is that there's more situations where a wrecker is gone, and it's that the wrecker couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Or customers are worried, right? They see a wrecker, and for some reason, they automatically think damage.
Yeah, like I did a police call probably a month or two ago for an impound, and it just came in as a standard police call, and I was about 2 minutes away from it, and then they called my dispatcher back, and they're like, we need a flatbed. And my dispatcher's like, well, I'll just send out Buddy in the bed. I was like, well, no, I'm already here. I might as well see why they want a flatbed. And I stopped, and it was a POS Dodge Dakota that was blue and black and full of rust. Like, it was just an absolute shit box, right? We tow a lot of shit boxes in that area, especially for DUIs and that. And I get out and I talk to the officer, and I was like, oh, why'd you want a bed? And she was like, well, it's all-wheel drive. I was like, well, it's four-wheel drive. There is a difference there.
Different.
And I can tow it. And she was like, oh, so you're good then? I was like, yep, just give me the keys and my tow slip and I'll be out of here. I got it all loaded up, strapped down, and took it away. And now hopefully that officer, because it was the officer herself that called and said that she needed a flatbed.
Right.
Hopefully now she knows that, hey, as long as a decent operator shows up in this area, it'll get moved regardless of what truck shows up.
But I can see where their worry is, right? Because what if they don't get a decent operator?
Yeah.
You can, flatbeds are rookie trucks.
Yeah.
So you can have, I'm going to get burned for this one. You can have half of the operator operating a flatbed and get the jobs done that a full-on wrecker operator you'd need. Meaning, I think you get what I'm saying by this, is that you can train any monkey to do basic flatbed towing. And guys, I'm not taking this as a jab at anyone. Okay. Trust me, you still need skill. Once you get into doing some of the wild recoveries and stuff that we do with flatbeds, you still need to be a great operator.
You need to be more skilled to do a proper recovery with a bed than a wrecker.
Yeah, but let's be honest. I can show a guy how to load a car 3 times, and he can, for the most part, basically load and secure a car. Most random pull up, up the bed they go.
Yeah.
I don't think I could show a guy a full dolly setup with straps and chains and you know what I mean, and in a wrecker 3 times, and he would be good to go by himself.
Yeah.
Would I ever let a guy with that much training go? No. But this is what I mean by the level of skill that it takes to do basic hookup with a wrecker versus a flatbed. So you don't need to make sure you have a good operator. So you see a broken ball joint, anybody can drag that onto a bed.
Yeah.
A good skilled flatbed operator will take the proper steps, jack it up, realign everything, use skates, all that kind of stuff to get it up on a bed. And a well-trained wrecker operator can tow it away as well. But from the police standpoint, the best chances that you're going to get that vehicle out of there quickly and efficiently is probably going to be with a flatbed, because any monkey can do it.
Yeah. Like, we were short-staffed at one of the companies I work for, and I'm primarily a wrecker driver. But since we had bed calls, I hopped into a flatbed and I had to go tow a boat. Have I ever towed a boat before? No, not at that point. I think I might have loaded 6 vehicles on that bed before. And I drive an hour and a half away to pick up this boat, and it's coming back. And I get there, and I wrap my bridle around the actual V part, so I'm pulling nice and straight, and I get it right up on the bed first try. Just since I'm tall, I can reach and pull that tongue over a little bit. And the owner of the boat, he's like, I got this towed the last time, and he had to take it off the bed and on the bed about 3 times to get up there. I was like, that made me feel good about myself. I strapped it all down, and away we went. When we got to the drop-off location, though, getting things off the bed is always a lot harder than getting things on the bed, especially with boats or even pickup trucks with trailer hitches. They'll dig in. He wanted it beside his house, so I couldn't tilt up fully because I would hit his eaves trough, and it was a cluster. And that confidence that I had, because I loaded it on perfectly nice and straight, flew out the window when I tried to unload it.
I love those calls where you ever get those calls where like we're both experienced, we've been at it a while.
Yeah.
And there's just those calls that you feel like a rookie again because everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Even if it's just, oh, can you back it into my bay at the shop? And you've backed into that bay before.
100%.
And sometimes you've backed it in first try, and yeah, it's dark in there, and you can't really see when you're backing a car in, but you get it between the posts of the hoist just perfectly.
Yep.
And then this Tuesday afternoon on a nice sunny day, it takes you 8 attempts to get it in there, and you're
Yep.
like, what happened to me?
I used to be good. I had an MVC like that the other day. I had this locked up in park. I don't remember what it was, some sort of Jeep product of sorts. And I line my bed up on it and I start to pull it and the wheels are cranked. All right, no problem. Throw the skates under. Neutral it. Okay. Electronic parking brakes on. Well, you think this thing would pull straight. So it kept wanting to walk up sideways up my bed. And so, get the front on, lift the bed, turn the truck, do all kinds of stuff. Things that we've done a million times.
Mm-hmm.
And every time, okay, this is good, it would start to come and it would start to shift off and you're readjusting. And it's just like, this is just one of those ones that, I feel like an idiot out here.
Yeah.
I have all the tools to do it. And it's just a matter of, okay, do this. All right, well, that's not working properly. Like, move on to the next plan, right? The next plan, the next plan. And it's just like, I swear I know what I'm doing. I swear I've done this 1,000 times. But just those one that just, and that's what that boat sounds like. Like I said, you get it up, everything's good, and then you go to unload it, and you feel like I'm, pardon the expression, but a monkey fucking a football.
Yeah.
And you're just struggling, and it takes any confidence you had that day, and just you're right, throws it right out the window,
with that boat, I pulled the truck ahead with it back to get it further down the bed, and I was like, okay, and I needed to go up like 6 more inches, so I slide the bed all the way up, and I was like, okay, should be there. Just try to tilt down a little bit to be able to pull ahead a little bit more. I was like, why am I not tilting down? This thing's not tilting down. I was like, it's an old truck. I was like, what did I do? And then I realized I'm over top of the bed locks. Granted, I'm like 8 feet up in the air, but since I'm that far up, it won't let me go down. And let me go down a centimeter at a time. And I was like, this is stupid. Slide the bed back 6 inches, and there we go, all the way down. It's like, at that point, I was already so flustered. I'm no longer looking at the obvious thing.
And that's the problem. Well, you get those moments, we got to just sit back, take a breath, because that's the thing. That's where your damage claims will come from. Yeah. Is you get flustered, you stop thinking, you start just, pulling levers and goddamn stupid thing. Let's go, get off. And that's where our damage claims. A piece of advice for you where you talked about the hitches digging, throw a skate under the hitch. Yeah. Pro tip. If your hitch is going to rub, throw a skate under it. Yep. It will save some driveways and definitely save some customers from being very pissed off at you. We're gonna get into a little game talking about how you handle situations.
Oh boy.
Yep. It's our favorite time. Well, it's my favorite time. It's not G's. It's time for.
You timed that wrong.
Yeah, that didn't work. Let's try this again. It's time for. How much of it is TowManG?
There you go.
There we go. I fixed it. How much of a dick is TowManG? Because I can't make that weird Yoshi noise that the show makes, so I just got to use the real word. This one is submitted. I did mention it's submitted from a gentleman over on the Facebook page that wants to go by the name Zig.
Zig?
Zig, yes. So
thanks, Zig, for putting me on the spot.
There's something to keep in mind with this one is that there is different laws based on different areas that you're in.
Okay.
So it might not apply to Ontario, and we'll go over the difference with the Ontario law for this, but I think you'll get the general context thinking of how it works down in the States.
Okay.
So, scenario. You impound a vehicle midday, right? Arrest situation. So RO was arrested. Yep. Customer calls at midnight because they need their meds out of the car. Knowing full well that it will always lead into a, since you're here, can we just get the car out? And you can't charge a gate fee. What do you do? So I think what he's referring to in this scenario is, and Zig, this is where we differ in Ontario. And we can only speak for Ontario. In Ontario, you are allowed to charge a gate fee anytime outside of the regular business hours. So Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, I believe. Anything outside of that, you are allowed to charge a gate fee, even if it is to collect personal items for the vehicle. Now, I don't know if you can charge it right on the spot or add it to how that's supposed to be collected. But you can charge a fee for that. Where I believe in the States, if they're getting personal items out, they cannot charge gate fee, depending on possibly your state. So what he's worried about is that they're going to get there, say that they need their medication, which is very possible, out of the vehicle. So therefore, the gate fee is going to be waived. But now they want to release the car. And how do you argue a gate fee when you've already told them there is no gate fee? Because I'm guessing the gate fee is because of the personal items. So if that is the case, right, because you're already there, now there's no gate fee. How do you handle that whenever they call to come get their stuff out? What do you do?
So for me personally, anytime we have to have someone come in and get their personals, we need to keep the peace officer there. So that needs to be
Really?
arranged. Yeah. Anytime, because we have all indoor storage where I am.
Now, we're not talking about for necessarily a criminal impound. The RO was
Nope, it's the
arrested, but
same.
there's no hold on the vehicle.
It's the same. If the
Okay.
vehicle is staying, a keep the peace officer has to come because they might not search the vehicle. If they're pulling personals out of it, they need to make sure nothing's been stolen. Nothing's like, we've got cameras and everything, but they need to make sure what was itemized and taken out of the vehicle, right? So normally what we do is we always say, well, if it can wait till 7 or 8 in the morning, that's perfect. If not, we normally can't really help you, right? Because we don't have someone in the office, right? And we don't have a gate fee. We just don't, right?
Okay.
So if we can have a driver there at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, whatever the case may be. But I'm sorry, we just can't serve you at 12 o'clock because we request an hour heads up before anything. We've got signs posted on our door stating our hours. This is our phone number for after hours. Call ahead, and you got to have all this information ahead of time. We had a situation last week or whatever. Guy got busted for drinking and driving. He went down to the station. We impounded his car. He blew a zero at the station.
Ooh, I always love these ones. These are tough. Yeah.
So what he did was on the side of the road, he lied to the officers, say, I haven't had anything to drink. Well, he just crushed a beer, right? But that beer is not enough to technically make you blow over. But since you just finished drinking it, you've got enough alcohol in your breath to where you blow over. So he came back and he wanted his vehicle released, which is fair, valid. It was wrongfully impounded, and we let it go without charging him. It came in the same day it went out. We didn't charge him the tow. We sent that bill right to the police station.
And did they pay it?
Yep.
Because I have, that's a good scenario, but I want to get to it after we get back to the original question.
Okay.
So you just tell them what? I can't help you. What if you're legally required to go open the gate for them to get that? Again, depending on the state that and that's where this question is hard, Zig. And we'll try and get to it the best that we can because every state law is different. Every province is different. Everything is different like that. Like I said, in Ontario, we don't have to. We offer 24-hour gate service at a fee, but we don't charge a gate fee during the day, during business hours, which is allowed.
It comes down to us even saying, okay, well, your car got impounded, let's say at 11 p.m. on a Saturday. Tell you what, you come in anytime prearranged on the Sunday, we won't charge you the extra day because we don't want to have to send a driver out at night to go unlock the shop.
Right. Yeah,
right? So,
we've told guys that too. A lot of times it actually ends up being cheaper. Instead of paying the after hour, we will charge the extra day storage. Because it's cheaper sometimes to pay the extra day storage than to pay the after hours.
Yeah.
And, and your driver gets paid through a commission system or whatever you have set up to go do that after hour. And honestly, what would you, depending on what your after hour release fee is, sometimes it's worth more to the driver and easier work than going out to actually do a call.
Yeah. But without a gate fee, the driver's not getting paid.
Well,
right?
That's an arrangement I think the company has to make with the driver to make sure the driver is going to get paid. An easy method I would do in that one, if you are allowed to charge a gate fee and they want to release it at the same time, and you're in this condition that you can, meaning there's no police holds, you tell them, me coming to open up the gate, there's no gate fee. Me processing the paperwork for the release, that's where it comes with the fee.
Yeah.
And so that would be an easy argument to, well, you're already here. Right. But now I've got to do all the processing and the paperwork on our side. You might only see me giving you the keys and you paying the bill and the car leaving.
Yeah.
Make up some shit. There's
I
an
gotta
hour worth
finish
of
the
work
bill,
that you got to do.
calculate
Yeah.
the tax, and enter it in the computer. Take copies of your driver's license, all that hullabaloo.
Yeah. So that's what I'm charging the fee for. Personally, that would be my opinion to it. I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're much of a dick on that one. I'm going to give you a 1.5. I don't remember what we rated this out of because I have a whole bunch of different numbers, but it's not very high on the how much of a dick is TowManG scheme. So if you guys have any questions you want answered like that, or, you know, dilemmas you want to see G put in on how he would handle them, again, visit the website www.towinglife.ca. There is a contact us form. I'll work on even getting a proper how much of a dick is TowManG section, and you can submit your question right into there. And
apparently it's they test my morality.
They test your morality as per that great magazine article that we've seen. They refuse to call our segment the name that it's called for obvious reasons. So it's a segment called Test His Morality. You are also a guy who commonly wears a shirt that says I'm sexy and I tow it, which you are wearing today.
Yeah.
That was the best description they had of you ever.
Yep. Yep.
There's one obnoxious guy, and then there's one guy that wears a shirt that says I'm sexy and I tow
it. Yep.
Line
under the radar here.
So that being said, I wanted to get into, we need to actually talk instead of stories, scenarios, and everything. I want to actually talk something towing.
Yeah.
And I just don't know which one I want to do. So let's talk about we mentioned how tired I was and being out at night. Let's talk about on-call downtime.
See, we never get to the other one.
Yeah, I know.
We've been trying to get to that other one for like a couple of weeks now, and we never do.
I know. We never do. One day we will. One day we will reach that merry little place where we actually get to everything.
And I think that's an actual good topic that we're just skipping over.
Nah, we'll let the listeners decide one day whenever they hear it. Look forward to it on this hidden subject that we won't reveal on episode 72.
72? Oh, really?
Somebody put a note in that we got to go back to that on episode 72 because I will forget by episode 42. But no, let's talk about on-call downtime. Right? Talks about that being out last night. We have a lot of these scenarios, right? The late releases, everything like that. How much time after a driver is done 16, 18, 20, 24 hours, how much downtime does a driver need? Right? In an ideal world, everybody is running, you know, depending on how your company is set up, you're running shifts, you know, whether it's 3 8-hour shifts a day. I know a lot of companies, they'll run, you know, their shifts during the day and then the on-call at night. Yeah. In a scenario where you've been going all day and you're out all night, let's throw out employment standard hours. Let's throw out hours of operation, hours of service, all that out.
So nothing legal here.
Yeah, nothing legal. This is by no means any sort of legal advice.
This is from dispatcher trying to take care of his driver.
Yes, 100%. How much time? Meaning you've been out for 20 hours that day. You finally make it home. Let's say it's midnight.
Yeah.
When are you calling that driver again?
Well,
is there a minimum?
If you got home at midnight, give him a half hour to have a shit shower, shave, shampoo, crawl into bed, and then give him at least 6.5 hours minimum, bare minimum, before you're bugging him again. That's what I would feel is okay in my books if I get 6 hours of sleep. Now, if I get home and I play video games, do whatever the hell, that's on me.
Yeah,
right?
That's your own business. 100%.
You've given me a half hour once I get home to get ready for bed. You've given me 6 hours worth of sleep. And if you give me an extra 30 minutes in the morning, like, hey, wake up, I've got 2 other drivers out of town, I'm going to need you, right? Give me that half hour heads up, because there's nothing worse than being a little tired and a little groggy, only having 6 hours of sleep and you've been out and expect to go at the drop of a hat.
Yeah, and be mentally alert and be at your top and not cause a damage claim or anything. Yeah, 100%.
Let me go grab a coffee first type thing before you expect me to go and pick up this brand new Mercedes.
You know what? And I'll be the first one to say that I'm bad for that. So I look at the times, and you're right. But the one thing I never take into account is that half an hour after, like you said, and we all know, even if you come home, you are not walking, you know, parking your truck, walking in the door and hitting the bed and being out in 5 minutes.
Especially if you've been out for more than, I want to say more than 12 hours. You've coming into your second wind, right? You're now probably overtired once you get to that 16-hour mark.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fall asleep.
Yeah. Sometimes it does. It takes a little bit. You got to shut your brain off depending on the call you were at. Me, wintertime is the worst for that because you get out in that cold air and it really wakens you up.
Yep.
And then you're, you know what I mean? When you get home, it's not as quick as just, on a summer day where it's hot, you get
And
home,
that's
you take
not
a
if you have a
shower.
family to come home to. If you come home and you wake up your kid, now you got a screaming kid and you got to deal with him.
But
or a
no,
screaming
it is something to
wife.
take. Yeah, that's happened once or twice. But no, it is something to definitely take in count. Is that half hour for the, you know what I mean, to, like I said, go to the bathroom, hop in a shower, you know what I mean, unwind a little bit. So yeah, you give them, from your arrive time at home, give them an extra half hour, 45 minutes, and then I think that's fair. I think 6 to 6.5 is reasonable. I try not to bug you for 8.
Yeah.
Right, 8 is the ideal. Yes, it's still not 8 hours of sleep because they get up and they get ready, whatever they got to do.
Yeah.
But you got to manage that burnout because so many times you will see it, and it's not a perfect answer. That's the other problem, is that it's like, okay, it's not like you can say, okay, if you've been out for 14 hours, you get 6 hours. If you've been out for 50, it's dependent on drivers. Different drivers can handle something, differently. I personally, even on a good night, I can't seem to get more than about 6.5 hours sleep. After 6.5, if I go to bed too early, I'm up too early. It's just kind of, your body gets used to things. You get into a routine. People are different. My wife needs 14 hours of sleep a day, I swear. And it's not because of beauty sleep. She's gorgeous, but she needs her 14 hours of sleep or she's tearing my head off.
So you need to make sure she has her 14 hours of sleep.
Pretty much. It's a lot of on-call nights sleeping on the couch so she can get that sleep. But it's something that I think is, people think about that and go, oh, we got home and so we had 4 hours. Well, yeah, okay. He's been going for 20. I think people in the industry understand it, and that's where I think the importance on management and dispatchers, why your dispatcher should be out on the road every once in a while, where a dispatcher who has been an operator tends to give you the best results because they know what it's like.
But it's also hard. Like, I work for a company where it's just me and the boss man, right?
So what
The
do you do if police calls keep coming in?
Yeah, like if it's busy last night, okay, try to get some sleep. If it's busy in the morning, guess what? You're out because you worked every single day, day or night. If the calls come in, you got to go. And normally, if it is just a 2-man operation, you normally don't have those crazy busy days. Maybe you get an average 10 calls a day, but still for just one, I normally call it 1.5 operators if you're a 2-man band, just because you might not always be able to count on that second guy. So you're 1.5 operators. He might do 2 calls and you do 8, right? Because you're the main guy. That's still a busy day for you, especially if it's a toll going an hour away here and there. And then you do a couple in that night and you get sent out of area, whatever the case may be. And you're expected to do it all over again tomorrow. And I think that's where we see a lot of this burnout. Once you get into the bigger companies with like a set schedule and you're off for 8 hours, or you do an overnight shift and that following day, so you're on call for 24 hours, you get the next day off, or whatever the case may be for wherever you are. If there's a set schedule, something like that, as long as you are okay with managing yourself, you won't have that burnout. But once you get in,
No, go ahead. Sorry.
The smaller companies is you don't have that schedule in place. So now it's all relying on you and the call volume that comes in, which is completely out of your control.
Yeah, that's fair. And it's true with the bigger companies, and I can speak for that, where a schedule helps, but a schedule also hurts because we have these, we tend to leave it up to the guys to the most part. Meaning, if you have a good group and you trust, their judgment, which you should trust the judgment of the people that you are hiring to run, the value of equipment that they're running, dealing with the value of calls that they're doing. You tend to put their trust in their judgment. Now, you always will have 1 or 2 that are going to take advantage of things, right? Or 1 or 2 that don't know how to take that break when they need to take that break. Both are bad situations, right? One is, we'll give you 8 hours, and the guy, I'm just not coming in because I took my 7 hours and then there's only 5 hours to go on my shift. I'm still too tired. right? And that's where, again, it's a situation by situation that you have to address it. But you just, are you tired? Can you go? Yes, I can go. Because most guys, if they're committed to the company and they're on board and good employees, if they can go, they'll go.
Yeah.
And if they can't go, they can't go. And you got to respect that decision. Tired is one thing that we are seeing more and more and more with impaired driving by, not just by drugs and alcohol, but by fatigue and accidents and studies and all that starting to go up. You have to start listening to the drivers on when they've had too much, right? We talked about it. Operators want to run 24 hours and we can do anything and we can, But
especially commission-based drivers.
Especially commission-based drivers. But at the end of the day, there has to be that rest period. And, you may even have to implement it on your own side to make sure that your drivers are taking it.
And if you're a driver in the company, get a couple drivers together. If you feel like you're being run off the feet, just get a couple drivers together and say, hey, go to management and say, hey, we need to come to a better situation. Like, we need a better outcome. Like, what can we do together to make this work, to make it better for us and you?
Don't come to me with a problem. Come to me with a solution. That is the one thing I always ask. You don't have to have all the answers, but don't just come with a problem.
Yeah.
Come with an openness, at least, a willingness to come up with a solution. Don't just, I'm mad because this. Okay, what's the solution then? I don't know.
Go sit in timeout.
Fair enough. Part of your job is not to figure out the solution, but at least, be open to working towards a common
or at
goal.
least know why that problem has occurred, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it happened because I'm overtired because, I've been going steady. Okay, here's what I can do. Let me see what I can accommodate for time. Let's, get rest when you can get rest. That's a good piece of advice. Get rest when you can get rest because you
what's
don't
that
know
motto that you have? Lie, cheat, and steal?
Lie, cheat, and steal. It's not my motto. I've stolen it from a gentleman named Jeff from Wreckmaster.
That's part of the motto.
What's that?
That's part of the motto. Cheat, steal.
Yeah, fair enough. Lie, cheat, and steal. Lie with the ones you love at night. Cheat death every day. And steal time away from this industry before it consumes you, and it will.
Yeah.
So I think that being said, that's a great way to end the episode on some lie, cheat, and steal. Welcome. Kind words from Jeff Martin. I'll never forget those. I'll use them every day. So that being said, G, why don't you go ahead and take us out?
Thanks for watching, guys. It's always a pleasure to be here. I hope to see you guys next Tuesday. Toodles.
See ya.